Welcome, 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 everybody, on a fine Wednesday afternoon, or at least afternoon here for me. Um, I want to basically tell you what I've been sipping. I've actually been sipping this a little bit sooner than later. But anyways, so this is the lemonade orange martini. So it's an ounce and a half of lemonade, an ounce and a half of orange juice, and an ounce and a half of vodka. And enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. So I've been pretty busy this past week, doing an event with a very well-known paranormal group, Bad to the Bone. We did the Victory Theater. It was successful, so I am happy that I was involved in that. And we have more things to come down the road, so stay tuned to us, to watch us and check us out. So without further ado, I want to introduce my special guest, and he is the host of Dogman Teepee Hunting. He has his own YouTube channel. You need to check him out. Here he is, Phil.
Hi, how you doing, Sarah?
Welcome.
Hello. Oh
Hello,
yeah, I love your.
hello.
Oh yeah, your title's sick as and sick, brilliant.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, really like them.
So how you
Yeah, do.
doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, not too bad. As you see, you've got all the lights going on behind me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Which is black and gray. So
that's okay. Whatever the mood suits, you know.
whatever the mood suits you.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to be on. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, and
yeah.
hello everyone.
Thank you so much for coming. So tell everybody a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I run a YouTube channel, and it's predominantly for cryptids, mostly things which I come across quite frequently, and that is namely Dogman, um, uh, werewolf. Um, it's got many different names. It's a creature which is looks more man, but with a wolf or Alsatian head and face. Often seen predominantly in forests and woods. We have a lot over here. There's other cryptids as well, Bigfoot, which we do get over here as well. It's not
Mhm.
just the States. Um, not in the vast numbers that you have, but yeah, we do have quite a few over here. So I basically go traveling around to different places,
Mhm.
and I don't have to try very hard to capture images and video evidence of these creatures. 9 times out of 10, I just as I'm walking along, they'll be to the side of me. They won't be very far away at all. So yeah, I've had lots of experiences with them. So I thought, well, okay. It got to a stage where I'm gonna make a channel. I'm gonna evidence this to see if there's anyone else that has the same
Yeah.
experiences. And there's loads, isn't there?
Mhm. There is loads
Absolutely
and
loads.
loads and loads.
You know, it's sort of just like swamped out there. But what I try and do is I try with my ones. Uh, over I don't over dramatize it. I don't on purpose try and fluff it up into something which it isn't. I just evidence as is, basically. Just go for a walk in the woods and then carefully go through the footage afterwards, and 9 times out of 10 I'll find something.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Rick said a
And also
comment.
and
Yeah.
also also ghosts as well. Yeah. Hi Vic, how you doing, mate? Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and another as the conversation goes on, very clued up guy, very clued up guy
Yeah.
with some great, fantastic theories as well. So yeah, he's a very interesting guy to talk to. Rick is. I also evidence ghosts, not that often, but I am part of Seventh Sanctum group, and we go and investigate ghosts because I'm absolutely intrigued by that as well.
Yep.
I think you are. You are the same, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. As to what I think, I mean, if I want to break down what I think ghosts are, I think that they are avatars. I would
Hmm.
like to see people when they see a ghost, they usually say the same thing. They say, um, "Can you communicate? What are you?" Um, uh, Very kind of like um, uh, just have a look, questions which are very basic, kind of like questions. You know,
Yeah.
I would like to ask, look, what do we look like to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I haven't asked that. Yeah.
What are we to you? If you exist, we can see you, but can you see us? You know, that would be kind of like an interesting thing to the angle to come from, because I think that they're probably more than likely a light anomaly
Hmm.
caused by a time. Um, and I think that they do appear as an avatar.
Hmm.
That's how we see them, and that's how they view us. Probably we're as much a ghost to them, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. We already got a question for you. Do you have
Uh,
guides?
um, I think I do. Yes, not in a spiritual sense so much, but I've got a very good feeling that I've got. Now I was in Camberwell Cemetery, and this is just a for instance. And I heard a very deep robotic voice, and the deep robotic voice was uh, I could hear it to my left hand side in my ear, and it said, "Phil, go, go now." And a little while soon after, I spotted and videoed a dogman morphing. So it came out of a bush and then morphed out, a bit like Predator at the film. You
Mm-hmm.
could see the outline of it, and you could see the uh, branches and the twigs and the tombstone, whatever it was, through it, but you could still see the outline of it, like Predator when it morphed, um, or cloaked, should I say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that voice that I heard beforehand is the same voice that I've heard a few times before. I got a feeling that it is a dogman or cryptid, almost like a soldier or a scout that I've got just to protect me. That is probably why I get
Hmm.
so close to these cryptids, and I don't seem to get hurt. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually seen that footage, and that place is amazing.
Mm, lovely place,
Yeah,
absolutely
it
lovely place.
is. It is
Yeah. I've got a soft
definitely.
spot. I don't know why for cemeteries anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, that is a absolutely fascinating place. Fascinating,
Yeah.
and like so many, the older part of cemeteries get so overgrown, don't they? And just like left to the wayside, just like it's like kind of it pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. You think to yourself,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
bless them," you know. But yeah, that's a absolutely banging place for what we call like a type one dog man or a
Mm-hmm.
quadrupedal. Uh, some would say old shook or old stinker. It frequents places like cemeteries for some reason. Also, um, predominantly, I mean, this is going back in British history for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's been written about, carved on wooden tablets, uh, stories of these dog creatures which have been seen with either red or green colored eyes seen in cemeteries. Hi, Natalie. Um, so they've they've often been seen there, and now whether or not they are um, what's the word? Whether they are aggressive, and this
Mm-hmm.
voice that I heard was trying to warn me, but it was definitely a robotic, deep sounding voice.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I think to that question, long winded, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I do think I have a guide. I do think I
Okay.
have a guide. Hmm.
So I have to ask you, how did you get involved with all of this? Like, why did you even go after this?
I didn't. It went after me.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't go looking for this. It just happened. It happened to me. They came after me. They not over dramatic. They not came after me, but they sought me out. They would
Mm-hmm.
tap on my shoulder, in a metaphorical sense. They would tap on my shoulder, and it would be instances of paranormal activity,
Mm-hmm.
um, as in ghosts, or what we presume to be ghosts,
Yeah.
poltergeist activity. I had a story of living in a place near the seaside in Clacton. Heard footsteps running up and down the loft, up and down the loft as I was in my room. I was younger then, and went up into the loft to have a little look. Nothing up there. Turned the light on tenuously
Mm-hmm.
and had a little look around. Nothing at all. Not a thing. Went away for the weekend and came back, and the loft window was open. I'm sure I shut it. Went up into the loft, and there was two white birds, almost mummified, lying side by side, partially boarded loft. Yeah,
Hmm.
but no walls up. It was like as if somebody had a half-hearted attempt to make it into a room, but didn't quite manage it. It wasn't us. We just moved in, and we weren't there very long because of all the happenings that went on there. And these two birds had their wings over the top of their chests and lying side by side,
Oh, wow.
completely white. They were almost mummified. When I picked them up, they were powdery, but I hadn't seen them before. All the time we were
Wow.
there. Yeah.
Huh.
Um, Before that, I've had instances of oh right, okay. When I was younger, I was very young, 8 years old. Now I'd always sneak down the stairs. Dad would always say, "Right, Phil, up to bed. Come on, bedtime." And so, oh, really? And he'd say, "Yeah, yeah, got to go up to bed." Now, as a kid, you know every single creak and squeak of the staircase of a
Mm-hmm.
house. You just learn it because you like, okay. And I tried going downstairs to have a little peek through the lounge door to see what's on TV. And I used to sit on the stairs just having a little look at TV through what was going on. And anyway, on this one occasion, I was coming downstairs. Now, the house was a corner plot. Okay, so it was a corner house, end of terrace, if you like. It was a three bed, reasonably large uh, um, place, and it had a landing window, a high landing window. And it was some feet, it's about 15 feet up, 15, maybe 15, 16 feet up from the ground level.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to pass it on the stairs going down. It sounds very grandiose. It really wasn't. It was quite a norm, to have those houses over it. And you have to pass the window as you're going downstairs. There's a gap between the window and the road of another 15 feet. Then there's our fence, which is a 6 foot fence. And in between, there's a shed where I had an off-road motorbike at the time, and I stored it out there and that. And uh, as I went down the stairs, I heard a voice, and the voice was a very deep sounding. I can remember it deep, again sounding kind of like robotic. And that brings me back to, as
Hmm.
Rick asked, maybe a protector, you could say,
Yeah,
but it was a
yeah,
very
yeah.
deep sounding voice, robotic almost, just like kind of, yeah, it was just odd sounding. And as I turned to think, what was that? As I turned, um, uh, the window smashed open. In flew a road sign. So outside was a road sign. We had some back then. This is 1970s,
Uh-huh.
and we had some big, heavy signs on the road, and they were bolted to concrete pillars. Um, so that would be our kind of like street sign, if, as it were. And it had been taken off the concrete pillars and then thrown at that height in that trajectory. So what, 15 feet plus another, what, say 6 foot, 21 feet, maybe
Oh
at
my
the most, or
God.
20 foot, and
Yeah.
then 15 feet up, straight through the window,
Streets.
just as I was passing, just as I was passing. And when the police came, they checked, and they asked around the houses. This was night time, remember? But the police
Mm-hmm.
came, and they asked the neighbours. No, didn't see anything. No, no one saw anything. Did you see anyone take the sign off or rip any noise? No, no noise, anything like that. And it missed me by inches, absolute
Wow.
inches. Yeah, and that was a very. The police could never understand how that sign had been able to been taken off because the bolts
That's
had been rusted
crazy.
and still
Yeah.
rusted on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the first sign that you had from your guide.
Yeah, that was the first. I guess the first sign. The first time I heard that, I
Mm-hmm.
heard it. Yeah. I always had like imaginary friend. I had a imaginary friend.
I did too.
Yeah, growing up. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that was the first. That sound very distinctive. That voice, very
Mm-hmm.
distinctive. And I only really hear it in if it's warning me of something.
Okay.
Mm.
Hmm.
Next time I heard it was the footsteps in the loft I was telling you about? That was
Yep.
in a bungalow in a place called
Okay.
Clacton on Sea. So
Oh.
it was in a bungalow, and uh, as I was, some odd things happened in the garden. So I was watching TV. I was watching Jimmy Chaujar play the Docklands, I think it was at the time, years and years ago. So I had my earphones on because Mum was in the bedroom asleep. So I thought I'll keep the earphones on; it won't wake her up. And I had her dog with me, Bonnie, and all of a sudden Bonnie's head went up, like, what was that? I was by the side of me, just adjacent to me, was a patio window which used to slide open to and
Mm-hmm.
fro into the back garden, and Bonnie was like kind of just staring at the window, growling, and I looked at her. Then I heard a bang bang on the window, very strong, like knock knock, like at the window. Night time again, and I was like, oh crap, what's that? And so I thought, well, I didn't open the curtain. I went into Mum's bedroom and I said, look, I'm going to go have a little look, see what's going on. In those days, used to have over here, used to get like 177 air rifles and air pistols. I had a couple of air pistols,
Yep.
so I picked those up, and I said to Mum, look, in case anything happens to me, I get bonked on the head. Just sort of stay awake. I'm going to go and have a little look. I heard a bang, so open up the door. Mum got up anyway, and then I went out into the garden tentatively, and as I did, Bonnie came out. But towards halfway down the garden, she stopped and went back in. Really sharpish, the dog did. She whimpered and went back in. As I was walking down the garden, it's a long garden. As I was walking down there, you could hear babies crying.
Hmm.
Sometimes cats on heat make that noise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they make that sort of noise. The thing is, I don't think it was cats though, Susan, because it was coming from all three sides. There was
Oh
fence to
wow.
the left, fence to the
Yeah.
right. down the bottom there was a vegetable patch where I buried the birds down the vegetable patch, and that had a gate on it. And uh, but the crying was coming from all three directions. I went a little further on down the garden, and then all of a sudden, I looked, and the crying kind of stopped, and then
Mm-hmm.
bang, the fences just rattled and stopped,
Oh my God.
completely dead. I didn't see anything at all, just
Yeah.
big bang and nothing at all. No cats jumping over, nothing. That place was well creepy. Went away for the weekend. Another story, right? Same place, same bungalow.
Uh-huh.
Went away for the weekend and uh, uh, came back, and Mum said to me, "Why didn't you shut the window in the loft?" I said, "I did." Um, it was a UPVC type window, and I shut it. Funny enough, the window had curtains and nets. What an odd thing to have when it's not a finished room, but because there's nothing to look into. It's just it's one level above in a bungalow, so it's higher. You'd need the ladder to get up there to have a look, but they'd put the curtains and nets up. But regardless, so I did, and we came back, and then she had to go at me, and she said, "The window, Phil. Why didn't you close the window?" She always had a bit of a gruff voice, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, "I did, Mum." And when I looked up, the window was open.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, went up there again and turned the light on, and the window was open and the curtains drawn open. When I going away, or I shut them up at Mum's behest. I shut the window and closed the curtains, but they were all open. Um, Another episode at the same place. All these little things, kind of like a little triggers. Another little thing that
Mm-hmm.
happened was uh, I was coming through the from the lounge through into the hallway to go for a wee in the toilet. And I was like going through, it was, must have been about, I don't know, about 8 o'clock at night. I was going through the hallway underneath the loft hatch. As I did, I heard that same voice,
Oh boy.
that robotic, deep voice saying,
Mm-hmm.
and at this time it said, "Phil, beware." Um, and you have to remember that at the time we hear these things, they're so far apart, they're so disjointed from the next episode,
Yeah.
we don't equate them until afterwards. And then we piece them all together and we get some perspective, and we kind of like see a pattern growing. Yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah,
only just,
definitely.
yeah. But at the time, we just see that on an individual level. We just
Mm-hmm.
hear a voice, and it's like a deep, robotic voice, but we don't put two and two together at the time. It's more of a, was I tricked? Was someone tricking me? Was that? No, it was more that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but why I think that was told to me was because soon afterwards, our front wall was. We heard them watching TV another evening. Soon afterwards, I think it might be the next night. All of a sudden, massive bang out the front. It sounded as if a lorry had hit a lorry, had hit a lorry. Massive bangs. I was like, what? So I went out, and all we saw was our front wall had been totally stoved in, or collapsed in. It had been hit, and all of the bricks pushed in
Oh my
into the
God.
garden, scattered. No tire tracks, no broken glass, no shards of any vehicle, no broken bumper, nothing. Asked the neighbours. We didn't see anything, Phil. So I don't know quite what that was. But it's funny that
Hmm.
with Bonnie, the dog, usually about that time of night, I always used to take Bonnie out for a trot. It was
Mm-hmm.
only just because at that time of night I was a little bit freaked out going out because I heard that voice before, and I was a bit freaked out by it. So I didn't actually take her out that night or the next night. Could it? Would it have been if I hadn't
I don't
heard that
know.
voice? Would I have gone out? Would I have been hit by whatever that was? What was that that hit the wall? Didn't see anything.
Now, for myself growing up, like myself, I had an imaginary friend. And then I started, just like yourself, I started getting my guide that I consider my guide speaking to me. And, when I would tell other people about it, they would go, oh, you're mentally ill, or you need to see a doctor. Or were you disbelieving yourself when you were hearing these voices?
Um, no, I never questioned myself. I heard it. I never questioned myself about it. I did. I did question what the voice was. I did question what the voice was saying. Why was it saying it? Because it didn't. It made no sense. Phil, beware. Beware of what? I was just going to the toilet. I was going for a wee. Beware what? Toilet
Mm-hmm.
seat coming down extra quick. I wasn't. I wasn't. I. I didn't question my sanity. I didn't question um, my spatial awareness at that time. Everything was quite coherent to me. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't um, high. I wasn't at all under any influence
Mm-hmm.
other than a crap TV program that I was listening to. But no, I didn't. I did question what it was, but now I've grown to be familiar with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've grown to take heed of it, and it's sort of helped me, I suppose, in a lot of circumstances.
And it's been always protecting you, not a negative feeling you've been getting.
No, no, it's not a negative feeling. Do you know what? It's the nearest I can equate to it is it's almost like an audible version of your gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get a gut feeling. You get a gut
Yep.
feeling about people. You get a gut feeling about a place, and you think, "Oh, I don't feel right. I'm going to go."
Yeah,
No, no,
yeah,
no. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
almost an audible version of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, uh, I've recorded it once, and that was, but alas, years and years ago, I flipped around due to bad choices with uh how shall I put it? Bad choices with some pardon me, partners and stuff. I ended up kind of
You
like
have bad choices. I've had bad choices.
I've had really bad. But never once did that voice ever say, "Look, just get out
Get
the bar,
away.
run away, get out the window, go to the toilet, and climb out the window." It never ever said that.
Oh, man. Don't you
um,
wish?
yeah, I know. It's sometimes really quite cryptic in it the way it works. It's like but um, I've recorded it, and that was years and years ago. I was staying in this place in just North London, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a really spooky kind of. It gave me a gut feeling of I don't really want to sleep in the front bedroom. It was a single ground floor flat, very long. It was an old
Mm-hmm.
Edwardian house, and what they'd done is the landlord had like kind of greedy, so every level he kind of split into flats, yeah, and so we had the very ground floor one, and the frontage had a large bay window, and it would have been the lounge, but they turned it into a bedroom. Very, very cold, always very cold. Very sad. That front
Oh.
bedroom was very sad feeling to it. Um, we mostly stayed, a partner at the time and myself, we stayed in the uh, sitting room area, if you like. We had a small sitting room area which planted in between the bedroom up the, would you believe it, the bedroom was right at the end of a insidious looking corridor you know. So you had to go for this
Ugh.
narrow corridor from the so from the sitting room up a narrow corridor with a bayonet light dangling, usually swinging with the draft in it, and it was like, yeah, it didn't help matters. And so we sat in the sitting room most of the time, and sort of like a lot of times we sort of slept there, um, because the bedroom was that ominous. It was that,
Mhm.
horrible. But I went to work, came back one evening, and the telephone socket back then in those days, you had to have a landline which was plugged in, right?
Mhm.
There's no mobiles or nothing. So and I had a phone recorder, which was a tape, an old tape recorder, and played it back, and you could hear the bells, whistles, and it started up. And blow me down, there was a message on there, and the message was in the same voice, but very garbled, and
Huh.
uh, it said my name, but it was that same, and I so wish I took that cassette out and kept it. But
Yeah.
like a lot of things I had within my possession, with time and in transit, in like the transit of life, you'd end up
Mhm.
losing this, losing
Yeah.
that, getting this, forgetting that. And you look back and you think, God, why did I honestly,
I
if
know. I
only I'd kept
know.
that tape. Yeah. But the same voice was on that tape. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So when you actually go on investigations,
Hmm.
do you use any type of equipment, or no? You just go in with your sense.
Oh no, I take equipment in, namely phone. Um, I've usually got three cameras. I've got a Canon digital SLR camera.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got a back cam as well that I use,
Yep.
and I've got my front phone camera. I've also got a backup camera that runs, uh, but that that's just on a SD card. I That's just it's not a very high definition camera. That one, that's just in case. That's facing frontwards as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what else? K2. That's obligatory.
Okay.
Yeah. I also take a laser thermometer, and also a trimeter with me. That's essential. Because a lot of these places, you have to debunk yourself. You've got to debunk yourself, because if you don't debunk you, other people will. So it's
Mm-hmm.
best to try and debunk yourself, because a lot
Yep.
of times we can be fooled and can be fooled quite easily. And uh, you know, I'm not, as I say, I'm not in it to convince anyone. I'm not in it to um, gain any notoriety other than to meet people who've had the same experiences, and to kind of like put our heads together to try and understand what the hell is this thing that we're dealing with, and
Yeah.
what's going on. That's it. So I take equipment which I take a MP3 player as
Mm-hmm.
a EVP, three VPs. What else? Yeah, trimeter, K2 cameras, video, um, the thermometer. Yeah, I think that's really about it that you need. Thermometer you need because a lot of times with the structures, you find a different temperature range inside. It's usually cooler by about 1 to 2 degrees
Mm-hmm.
inside structures from the latent temperature outside, the ambient temperature outside. You also get things like burning of the wood on the inside of structures. So
Okay.
you get like a charring,
Mm-hmm.
um, but the ground around it isn't charred. The area is not charred. There's not been a fire there. Um, but the wood itself, when you look inside, and if people are out or watching this and they find the same, let me know. Let me know, like the area whereabouts it is, and kind of if you find the same, because it would be very interesting, if you do. Um,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So what have I done? Yeah, that's it. And uh, what else? I take the trimeter because it's a lot more accurate than a K2. Yeah, K2 is great. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
K2 works, um, but it's not as accurate. It tends to be a bit more of a. I'm going to really piss people off here, but it tends to um, be light up like a Christmas tree at the slightest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I don't want, but it looks good on camera. But you get a trimeter on with an EMF gauge on, and it's the type of equipment that um, telecommunication engineers use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more accurate. And you find that where the K2 will just like flash off like a Christmas tree and just like all the while keep going, the trimeter won't. Um, and there should be no natural electromagnetic frequency in nature, really.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Not
what I would
evident.
think.
It's also good because it gives you also radio frequency. So if there's any radio frequency interference around, it will tell you about that. And electrical frequency as well. So electromagnetic. So like microwave. No microwave. Radio transmitters. If there's a 5G tower nearby, or it'll ping off because of that. So it's quite a useful bit of kit. That and a thermometer I
Hmm.
find really useful. Um, Other than that,
Yeah.
intuition is fabulous. I mean, a lot of people they've messaged me and said, "Where do you go, Phil?" And I go, "Do you know what? Even my local wood. I go to local woods and it
Mm-hmm.
still find stuff in there. You find structures, and you find I've seen a Type 2 Dogman, which is more of a flat faced, less of a snout, um, very thick, heavy set, large, really. Whereas Dogman is quite a good looking beast, if you like. He's chiseled. He's more of a triangle. He's really sort of strong but chiseled and quick. The
Mm-hmm.
Type 2 is more kind of, if you like a gorilla-ish type. It's quadrupedal when it runs, but
Mm-hmm.
bipedal can be as well. It can stand as well, but it's quite ugly. It's a wide face. It's more of a monkey's face, if you like. I think in Cannock Chase, a big forest near in England, Cannock Chase, very mysterious forest indeed. You've got black-eyed children, ghosts in there, something called the Pigmen, and
Okay.
I'm going there very soon to
Oh,
do an investigation. Yeah,
nice.
I shall post it very soon. It's with I'm in collaboration with another guy who we're going to team up on this one to do a couple of few nights up there. Um, so. But yeah, I want to try and really hunt down a pigman if I can, because I think it's a Type 2 Dogman.
Okay. Now,
Hmm.
do you like when you sense that they're around? Is there any type of smell related to them?
No, not with Dogman, not so much. No,
Okay.
I do with like a Type 1, like the quadrupedal, the dog-looking one. The one which looks like a large dog with the big
Mm-hmm.
ears, jet black. The thing is jet black. I've got a video which I dropped of one which is looking at me from a tree, and it's at the base of a tree just staring at me. Absolutely jet black. So like it's sucking light in. My dogs went crazy, and it was just sat there watching. You can smell. There is a smell from that type. From that
Okay.
type, there is. But I would say more. It's uh, you get a lot more. I tell you what you tend to get. What I tend to get. I tend to get a lot more. And this goes back to what I discussed before with Rick that came up on the comments. You get more of a electromagnetic, like static um, feeling in the area. Your skin's more, your hairs are up, your
Mm-hmm.
skin's more prickly. You get more of a kind of everything goes quiet. Everything goes absolutely deathly quiet.
Quiet.
Um, Completely. It's like being in a bubble of silence. But if you step 2 feet out of one direction, you can hear the noise of the forest kicking off.
Yep.
But in
Yep.
that bubble, it's quiet, Susan. Absolutely, absolutely quiet. And that feeling you get at the time is the sense that um, overtakes you. Is the sense of, like I was talking about scopocepia, where you
Yep.
know you're being watched. You can feel you're being watched. And that electromagnetic, that kind of, it's like a static feeling
Yeah.
that I get. Yeah, I get that an awful lot. Yeah, get
Yeah,
that an
because
awful
they
lot.
said like Bigfoot, for example, they said that he has like a pigment skunk smell. That's how you
Mm,
can sense that Bigfoot is around.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to Cannock Chase last year, and I videoed something large, looked like a Bigfoot throwing. At the time, I didn't know what it was. It looked like a
Mm-hmm.
bird taking off, but it wasn't. It was shiny, reflective, and it was looked like it's been thrown, almost like a boomerang. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought at first it was a lightsaber. I thought, who the hell's throwing a lightsaber at me? And uh, it came from. It wasn't until I didn't see it myself, but it wasn't until I looked at the video footage, because I've got some banging cameras, really good cameras, and I film on multiple formats. I always take raw footage as well, and some of it is in 4K 60 frames per second, some 30 as well. But I looked at my footage afterwards, and it looks like a Bigfoot, and it's actually throwing something at me, and it's reflective, and
Yeah.
then you can see it turn and then walk into the forest. And around that area, I was with my grandson at the time.
Uh-huh.
Okay, my step grandson. Anyway, and he was 12 at the time, and usual 12-year-old. He was like kind of had his phone with him. He was like looking at TikTok. Oh, I don't really want to be here. As Bigfoot, I've seen Bigfoot. Where have you seen it? On TikTok. I was like, no, you're meant to look for it in the forest. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we were looking, and he kept saying to me one thing. He said, I can hear grunting, Phil. And I was like, really? Me being old and like kind of hearing not as great, because it deteriorates. High pitched hearing is not great for men. That's why we can't hear babies cry, um, because we're naturally not attuned to hear the upper pitches. Ladies are, men are not. We hear more deeper sounds. But I didn't hear this grunting he was talking about. When he told me about it, I thought maybe it was wild boar, because they have released wild boar into Cannock Chase, I believe. Um, and we came across a smell, a very pungent smell, in one section of this forest
Mm-hmm.
where this beast had thrown this lightsaber from. But we didn't know at the time because I didn't look at the footage. It wasn't until I looked at the footage I thought that's the area it was in. That's why we smelt that bad smell. We thought something had died over there. It honestly smelt like something had died, was half rotten.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah.
Wow. 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 Um, yeah, I've actually spent hours watching all of your videos because I wanted to catch up on things.
Oh, okay.
So you went one particular place, the Eve of Beltane, I believe, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so you explained that that was basically when the demon took a break and witches came out, correct?
Yeah, it's what it is. Eva Beltane is basically the devil, Satan, if you like, saying, right, I'm off. I'm gonna have a break,
Mm-hmm.
and the control over his minions, if you like, going. He has a break, and that's when people in medieval times would protect themselves on the eve of Beltane, protect their homes
Yeah, yeah.
from roaming witches and banshees and demonic forces. So it's a good night to actually go out to try and capture
Yeah.
anything. So that's what I did.
Hmm.
I went out to the forest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The Camberwell Cemetery was amazing though. Getting back to that, of all
Mm,
the gravestones that was inside the woods covered. It's an
mm.
amazing place.
Absolutely lovely, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Very, very cool place. I
yeah.
really enjoy it there. Yeah. And many stories there as well. On the videos, a story of a guy, a famous story of a guy that used it as a shortcut, and he went walking through. As he went walking through, this uh, large dogman creature, huge, pounced on him, pushed him to
Hmm.
the floor, was looking at him in the face, and is dribbling. It was actually dribbling, slavering into his face, sniffing him up and down. The guy messed himself. He was that scared. He messed himself. It wasn't that long ago. I think this was in the 90s. He messed himself. He was honest enough to say just he did not know. And it had a dog's face, and it had the archetypal ears, like kind of really Alsatian type ears. Um, it was phenomenally strong, held him down. But he said he had the impression it was going to kill him,
Hmm.
that it was going to kill him, but it didn't. It sniffed him up and down, and then got up on two legs and ran away.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and there was another account, and he believes that it didn't actually do anything to him because he had something wrong with him. So he had some kind of disease that, yeah, it wouldn't eat bad meat. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. Um, and there was another account of, and these people are not mad idiots who just come out with these stories because they want to uh look like mad idiots, no more
Hmm.
than I do. I don't particularly want to, sort of put myself up there as a mad idiot. I want to put myself up there as someone who's had experiences
Hmm.
and to share the experiences. And there was a couple that was a professional couple that was walking by the side of Camberwell Cemetery on a pavement, and the girlfriend quickly grabbed his arm, and she was really scared. And he was like, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I can hear growling." And there was very deep growling coming from within the cemetery as they're walking past. And then all of a sudden, the guy looked over, and the whole of this tree, massive tree, was waving as if something had got it and was just throwing it about like it was a twig. That was being documented as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that cemetery.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very old. My word, very old. And it's got a lot of history. Got a lot of history
Yeah,
attached
yeah,
to it.
yeah, yeah.
So, you
So
know.
what would you honestly do if you never came face to face, like really up close to Dogman?
No, 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 no. I haven't ever come up. I
So
haven't
what would you
come up.
do? How would you react?
Um, to be honest with you, I don't think I would. There is something there that it wants. It wants me to. Um, it wants me to witness it. It wants me to video it. It wants to show itself to me
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have to try very hard at
Mm-hmm.
all. Um, I don't think it's there, or maybe there is one of them that is protective of me.
Hmm.
Um, I've got a feeling that there is one of them that probably is protective of me. Uh, and I think it has got something to do with the voice. I also think that um, yeah, it's difficult to explain really. I've got an instinct when I'm out many times that there is something there with me that is a cryptid dogman being that is with me as protection.
Yeah.
I can't prove it, but I've got a feeling there is, because I capture so much stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, almost every video that you post, you have something. And really the amazing one was you posted it not too long ago. It was you walking in a area, and then there was the two deers, and then
Oh
off to
yeah.
the right, off to the left hand side, there was some type of a figure there.
Yeah. I know that was an odd one. The dogs went crazy. So I was in a forest not far from here,
Mm-hmm.
where I live, which I live in Essex, just outside of London.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's quite built up. It's not, it's quite a built up area, but it's got a large amount of green belt land
Yep.
around it. Yeah. Um, and there's a particular forest, Epping Forest, and many other smaller woods surrounding. Epping Forest is quite sizable. Anyway, with that particular occasion, I was walking through the woods, and I had a completely different feeling from that one. The dogs started going a bit funny,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of looked, and I saw the deer. And being a sucker for wildlife, seeing deer, I love seeing deer, and so
Yeah.
I thought I'd videoed the deer.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else. I didn't see anything else. I just videoed the deer. That was it. Then the dogs started going a bit nutty. I've got two Jack
Crazy.
Russell Terriers, one of
Yep.
which, Basil, he's a part Chihuahua, so he's particularly nutty. So
Mm-hmm.
he was going round in circles, and they were tying the leads up in knots. So I then thought, oh, sod this, paused the recording. Yeah. I actually stopped it, untangled the dogs. They were still, agitated, really, really agitated. Wouldn't say angry. They weren't barking, but they were agitated. Then I started recording up to record the deer. The deer was still there, but this time there was something else that the deer were looking at,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a golden figure. It was a very, very reflective. The camera, the lens doesn't do it justice. To my eye, it was just looked like a permanent flash of gold coming
Yeah.
from this thing. And the deer were looking at it as well. I didn't see that thing coming out of the forest, that big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't see that, but I did on film afterwards.
Yeah.
And that thing coming out of the forest, you could see the head and you could see a massive big chest, but it looked like it was going towards the gold coloured Dogman hybrid thing.
Yeah.
And I had a very strong feeling it was a Dogman, but a special type. And I'm not sure what type that was. It was a very special one. Had a very bad feeling to it. Dogs didn't like it at all. Had a
Yeah.
very bad feeling, that one did. I picked up on a feeling. I didn't go any further towards it because I was too scared, to be honest. Had a very bad feeling. If I did, I would probably have gone if the dogs weren't with me, but I wouldn't go with the dogs because the dogs are early warning sign for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I normally do take them out. They're very good. Ruby is a really good. She's the older one.
Yep.
Very good. She used to be a fabulous ratter. Really good ratter. Catching mice and things like that. Yeah,
Yep.
as well. In her younger days. Now I just run around her if need be. But she's still got that instinct. She can smell and spot something off at a great distance. But she did not like this thing at all. And that's what gave me the, oh no, no. And funny enough, I got
Yeah.
no voice for that one, no voice at all. They've got no beware or don't go or anything. Got nothing for that.
Oh, you
That
you got
particular
no
thing.
signs, huh?
No signs for that one, not at all. But that was something special. That was a special type of. It just appeared. Nothing there
Yeah.
before. appeared. Yeah.
Now, did you go back there afterwards?
Yeah, I did.
And
Same
nothing was
place, nothing,
there.
nothing there.
Wow.
And I went the next day, nothing was there. No. And it was great because I had the perspective of the deer still there,
Yep.
and I had the perspective of that log, which was just as like a marker to where it was and a mound. And yeah, and there was nothing, no. And I was too far away to run in between to place anything there. You know, so it was a great shot, and that thing coming
Yeah.
out the forest, really great. I was very lucky.
Yeah, I did a double time looking at it, and I'm like, what is that? It looks
Yeah.
like it kind of looks like a silhouette of a gorilla because it had like the huge chest and the eyes, but you
Mm.
couldn't really tell what it was.
No, it was huge though.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Whatever it was very, very big, very broad. Yeah. No, that was a special kind of thing. That was a yeah. I was very, very lucky to have that.
Yeah.
Still don't know what it was to this day. I've
Yeah.
got a feeling it was a Dogman. I don't attribute everything to Dogman, but I know it sounds as if I do. But they're the most. If I get a feeling, they will give me a feeling more than any other cryptid at
Mm-hmm.
all. Yeah, very strong feeling off them.
Yeah. I and then I saw another video that you posted about it's the underground house.
Um, was that in Wales? Was I
I
went?
believe so.
Yeah. That was an abandoned house. That was cool. I like. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
it
resist it.
was.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
see an abandoned house, I've got to go into it. You know, I mean,
I know,
yeah,
but there was one particular house. I forgot which video it was from, but there was a stairway going downstairs, and I felt like you kind of like hesitated because you kept on saying hello, hello
yeah, yeah,
before you
yeah,
went
yeah.
down.
That was well. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we can go into these abandoned houses,
Yeah,
and so long as it hasn't got a front door on, you can go in, kind of thing. You know, you pretty
yeah,
much know. Oh, that's right. But I always kind of in the back of my mind, I always think, oh, am I gonna kind of like, is it going to be a couple of really old people watching some black and white TV, having a cup of tea somewhere? And there's me walking past, with a K2 meter, you know. So I'm always careful just in case,
yeah,
or like druggies or sort of
yeah,
crackheads
yeah.
or
Because
whatever.
we get a lot of that here in abandoned places, so we have to be
Yeah,
careful as well.
yeah. So you got to be, but yeah, it's very hard not to sort of walk past one. You just have to. If you see one, you got to go in because you never know. You never
Yeah,
know what you might
you
find.
never
That
know.
was a strange place because it had a tunnel network. So
Mm-hmm.
on the very bottom is if you go down, it's 2 flights of stairs into the main basement area,
Yep.
and then you when I went out into the garden, and it was when I tell you it's in the middle of a forest,
Yep.
this thing is in the middle of a forest. The only way I got there was through I drove my little car up this path, um in the forest. Oh, it must have been, I don't know, I suppose a good 45 minutes driving up the path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so this place is well out of the way, deep in North Wales. And saw the place. I went down in the basement. As you go into the garden, what would have been the garden, it had the most strange tunnel network. It had this tunnel with water, like a waterfall at the very far end, and
Mm-hmm.
then the water was traveling like under, like an aquifer running underneath the house. Um, which, from the point of view of spirits and energies, would be fantastic because, as you know, if water is going past a bedrock containing quartz or anything like that, fantastic for energy. So yeah, that was very enjoyable. That was a very enjoyable place to go. Um, a lot of times I go on my own. I don't take anyone. I just go on my own.
You can just go on your own.
Yeah, Yeah. I find you get a lot of I if you go in a big team,
Hmm.
um, I often kind of like I have a giggle sometimes because I see people go in and they're in a massive big team. Sometimes it works if the team splits up, but when you
Yeah.
go in a massive big team and then they've got cameras and then they've got sound equipment and then they've got cables running across the floor, they got lighting rigs, and it's kind of, and they've even got like a tea trolley with a, coming in, and you think to yourself, really, you've got so much going on,
Yeah.
you're not really going to get anything, are you? Let's face it, and if you are going to get anything, it's going to be something which, so it's much better to be, I prefer watching myself, people that are quite ballsy that go out on their own into a wood forest or into abandoned place on their own, and that's kind of, there's I prefer that because it's just, yeah, because otherwise it does seem a little bit, when they got cables and lighting and rigs and all the rest of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
it's a bit
I would
contrived.
definitely go. I mean, I would definitely go by myself in the daytime in the woods anytime, but I don't know. I'm a little hesitant at nighttime, only because I don't know what's around me.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's do you know, I don't worry too much about the dead. I don't worry too much about uh Dogman for the reasons that I've just mentioned
yeah,
too much. Not
it's
too
live
much.
people.
Yes, it's the living.
Yeah,
That's what
it
I
is.
worry
I mean,
about.
there could be someone living somewhere. You don't know. You don't know.
No, no, exactly. There was another one where I think I sent you the video where it's in a wood, not that far away again from me, and I saw this cabin, and it's like little tiny shack, and it had a pallet up against it,
Hmm.
and I thought because I had a pallet, uh, do you call them pallets over there in the States? That you put, like, you store, say you've got loads of bars of soap or tissue, rolls of tissue, and you put them on a pallet and the forklift picks it up and takes it away. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I had one of those leaning up against this cabin, this like little shack, and it's in the middle of this quite large wood, right? And I instantly think to myself, that's going to be like that's going to be a tramp. That's going to be a tramp, tramp's place. Bless his heart. It's going to be a tramp in there. And I just filmed it passing and then went on. Anyway, I loaded up the video because sometimes, do you know, people who follow my channel are some of the best, most critical, eagle-eyed people you could want to meet, and the most switched on, absolutely switched on to this game. And they very often, they're the ones, not me. I don't take any credit at all. They're the ones that actually message me, Phil, we caught something. We saw it on your video. If you go and they give me a timestamp, I go back over and I go, oh blimey, yeah, you did indeed. And then I make a video with that. I make a short of it. I try and I don't use AI ever.
Hmm.
But what I use is I try and emphasize it a little bit by contrast or lighting. So I try
Hmm.
and bring it out of the picture, but I don't use AI on any of my stuff. Um, so I did this. They saw somebody. They saw something inside this shack with the pallet up against it. It's only small, and blow me down if it wasn't, they were right. And it was this like large flat faced creature that was inside. You saw its eyes blinking, its head moving. I slowed it right down in slow mo, and you can see it actually moving in the shack watching me. And I think
Wow.
that was a type 2 dogman, probably the same one that we saw coming out of the wood, the same type that we saw coming out of the wood towards the golden creature we saw on that previous video. Very big they are, quite big. But maybe it was a young un. Maybe it could have been a young un. Do you believe in werewolves?
I mean, I grew up believing in werewolves. Um, I I honestly don't know if I do or not.
Mm. See, I think there's every possibility that, and I've truly do. I've spoken to a couple of people,
Yeah.
and uh, I can't relay one account from them because it's not my place to, because it's their story to tell, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I will try and get them on a show to actually recount their story if they would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after talking to them, boy, they're convincing. I mean, seriously, I do believe it. And there was one lady that got in contact with me who she is so lovely, so down to earth,
Uh-huh.
um, and so matter of fact. And she's told me a little bit about her history as well. And uh, she said she's not she is fully aware of because she also has dealings with the occult and witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can say that much. But she said, "Do you know what, Phil? I was in, get this, Asda's, right? So like Walmart. Yeah, she was in a queue. She looked back. As she looked back, she said this guy with a she said his face was, there was something wrong with it. There was something wrong with his face. There was, it wasn't quite right. It was just something wrong. But his eyes were piercing, and she locked eyes with him for must have been about 30 seconds, if not a minute. And she said, I had this overwhelming feeling. He said to me in my mind that he was a werewolf,
Hmm.
and she said she couldn't wait to get out of there. I also worked with a guy. I used to work on a building site. Okay, so I was doing a lot of like first fix work. I was a plumber, and I was doing a lot of first fix work in on a building site for new build homes. And I would listen all day long to podcasts like your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
occult, ghosty ones, cryptid ones, all kinds of podcasts. I'd be listening away, and there was a telehandler. He was a telehandler driver, and a big old boy, very very intelligent, very articulate. Um, and he used to work, I believe he used to work for a bank uh, in the city,
Mm-hmm.
but 2 heart attacks later he decided to give it up and take up a job as a telehandler driver for relatively good money, without all the stress. He used to come up to me and go, "What rubbish are you listening to, Phil?" I said, "Ah, listening about ghosts. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, you should try it." He said, "That's a load of old crap." He said, "Rubbish. Don't believe any of that nonsense." He said, "If it's not in front of you and you can't touch it," he said, "I don't believe it." I was like, "Well, is there nothing in your?" No, he said, "No, not really. Nothing. No, nothing at all, mate. I haven't had any creaking, banging, doors opening, no voiceless, no voices without a face, nothing." He said, "I haven't got a thing." One day I was listening to a podcast and I had the speaker turned up, and I was in this plot. It's empty shell of a building,
Mm-hmm.
and I was putting in what was I doing at the time? Oh, yeah, I was sweeping it out. Funny enough, I was cleaning it out. So I was cleaning it out like this, cleaning it all out, and he popped in for a chat, and he listened to the podcast. He said, "What's this?" I said, "Oh, it's about werewolves," and he instantly changed. He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, werewolf, but you don't believe that crap, do you?" He said, "No, no, no." He said, "I've seen a werewolf." I was like, "You're kidding." He said, "No." He said, when I worked in London, he said, we had some guys come over from Libya, and there was about half a dozen of them. And they would be in a meeting for, like, these guys were in a meeting for 6 days solid. just like, every day turning up at the office, going for a meeting in this boardroom. They're bringing in sandwiches and drinks and everyone water and blah blah blah, and discussing about the finances and what they wanted to do and where they wanted to invest money and the rest of it. And he said there was one guy between the six. There was one guy never said a word to us. He understood English. He made that plain enough. He understood, because when we spoke, he would then speak to his colleagues, but they would never translate what we said. So we understood what we said, but he'd never speak our language. Anyway, towards the end of the final day of the meeting, somebody cracked a joke, and it was evidently a funny one, And these guys started laughing, and the guy who never spoke a word, who was quite mysterious and strange looking anyway, he said he was also very chiseled face, thin, but his eyes were very bright, bright blue eyes, almost too blue, if you like. Anyway, he said he belly laughed. As he belly laughed, his head went back, and he properly creased up. As his head went back, he said, "Phil, I swear to you," his face changed, and his eyes became like canine eyes, like kind of almost like they changed from being round pupils to almost like slits. He then looked at me. Get this, Susan, right? He looked at me, and when he looked at me, he gave me the look like he was going to take my liver. He's scared. Yeah. And he said that is the only time. He said, "Were you listening to that werewolves?" He said, "That, I can tell you, is the truth." And I believe him.
Oh my God. Wow. Huh.
So yeah.
Well, they do say that there's vampires living amongst us. That suck energy from us.
Yeah. I think there's. Do you know what? I think that these entities. How about this? How about we're not the indigenous ones here? There's a famous Dr. Alan De Silva who came out with a famous book saying that he didn't believe that human species were indigenous because we don't have any natural protection from sunlight. Giving birth for women over here is a traumatic, not easy experience. We have problems fighting gravity. We're about the only species that does. We inherently have back problems, hip problems, knee problems, because we're constantly battling with gravity. It's almost as if our natural domain is in a the gravity is less strong where we should be living. So that being the case, how about that? The indigenous population are the likes of werewolves, vampires, but they're now like kind of, because we've spread, and for some reason, whether we've been dropped here, whether maybe for some reason we're here, and for some reason our history is tarnished. Our history, when you look back, a lot of it has been hidden, hasn't been it's very murky. Our history is so perhaps indigenous creatures like that are the true creatures of this realm. Perhaps that it's the energy engine, the everything engine, as I call it. Maybe there is a time whereby we're in a frame of time, a single frame of time, and that single frame of time is not altering. but things can move quicker through time, and to us we perceive them as cloaking in and cloaking out because they are here only in a form of avatars as we are to them. But
Mm-hmm.
it's time that is because we're in that one frame of film moving along. Yeah. But
Yeah.
there's something else. There's another time which is going faster than the frame of film that we're in. And these things can see the whole film. They can see the beginning and the end. You know?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
Higgs, they believe it's theoretically possible. I mean, Higgs boson particle axions. They believe that in enough quantity in a quantum wave, they will create a portal. Like almost like a black hole, they'll create a portal that is
Mhm.
theoretically possible of
Yeah. Yeah.
Higgs boson. So, who's to say that portals aren't here, that they
I
do
was just going to
exist?
ask you that. I was just going to ask you that many people believe that there's portals from our world to their world so they could come and go as they please, because a lot of people, like, if these do exist, where are the bodies? Where isn't there any proof that they do
Hmm.
exist?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've seen a portal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you stand right in the portal, you do feel a little bit lightheaded and kind of
Hmm.
like in your, not in your own physical head.
Hmm.
But yeah, so a lot of people think that. A lot of people think, yes, there are things out there what of course we don't even know. We haven't discovered. Um, but maybe they are traveling from one world to another through these portals.
Anyone can see a portal. Do you want to see one now?
See a portal?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. You got a keyboard in front of you.
Yes.
Okay. Just put in the any astronomical. Put in the. I think it's was it the James Webb Telescope, and it'll bring
Mm-hmm.
up a whole file of pictures.
Oh.
And there's one of our nearest black holes. Have a look at that picture. That's a portal.
Yeah. Hmm.
It sucks everything in, including light. There's
Yeah.
a gravitational tear in time and dimension. Really, it's a portal in essence. Portals are real; they do exist. Um, and what about the event horizon? That is pure information energy.
Mm-hmm.
That is pure information energy, and that is really what we see. When people kind of like are in these places and they get that funny feeling and that strange feeling, and it's like kind of electromagnetic feeling.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of times there is interaction with things like photons and photonic particles, um, and these things, they travel not in our time frame. We're in a set time frame. Everything we do is in a set time frame. We're
Mm-hmm.
we're in a constant state of start stop, Susan. Yeah, whether we like it or not. We think we're on a
Yeah.
linear time, but we're not. We're kind of like Zeno's arrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of like, if you photograph an arrow going through the sky, yeah, the arrow is not moving in a linear manner. It's not moving in a constant because each arrow can't be in two places at the same time. So it is moving in every frame. It is in a start and a stop, and then it moves on, and then it moves on. That is us
Mm-hmm.
at the moment. We're in a constant frame of time and realm. So these things that we see, how about they are able to manipulate both light, time, and realm? They're able to move in through because they don't really know any different as we don't. They're kind of like passing through. That's why we see them out the peripheral of our eye. We kind of like, see, we've got sort of black shape in that room. What was that? Was that a ghost? Was it a shadow person? I don't know. Was it? Or was it something moving faster or slower than our comprehension allows in
Hmm.
our frame of time? You
Hmm.
know, um, but there is certain things which do have that good, bad, biblical edge to them. And talking about it, I'm glad you mentioned it. Shadow beings. Have you come across shadow beings?
I have not. No.
Oh, I have. Not good. Not good at all.
Hmm.
I was in living in a bed set and
Mm-hmm.
uh in West London in Chiswick many years ago. And I was a, a, a good-looking young man, if I did say so myself. Not the feeble old thing I am now. But anyway, right? No, no, no. Please stop. No. And it's this bed set I was in was shared by many people, all different sort of denominations and people living in it, because there were individual rooms in a large house. Anyway, one night I was uh, looked across and had a sash window, and it's like kind of sash windows got weights on it. I don't know. Do you know them? And they got weights on them, and they got ropes up the frame. And as you pull them open, the weights go down, and they're easier to open. Because they're very heavy windows. And I was on a very top floor. It was a townhouse. So it was three floors up, and the street was down below me. And uh, now, in all honesty, I had been drinking that night, but I had work the next day, and I wasn't drinking liquor. I was drinking like beer at the time. Yeah, but I wasn't absolutely blotto or scold. I wasn't. I was just merry. Anyway,
Hmm.
went to sleep. Um, it must have been about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Woke up and there was this ball, this mass, blacker than the black of the room. The
Huh.
only light coming into the room was through the sash window to my right hand side as I looked. Um, and it was an amber light from the street lamps, which were down below us, but they lit up the room. And this ball of black um, manifested into a figure, and it was a two-dimensional figure, like Plato's cave almost. It was like it was and it looks. Do you remember the Pied Piper?
Mm-hmm.
It was a thin, triangular. Every feature to it was a triangle shape. Its
Wow.
head was a triangle. It had a triangle hat on. Like that's why it reminded me of Pied Piper, because he had like a triangle shaped hat in the illustrations. But every kind of part of him was a triangle. That's why I called him what did I call him? Ebon. Uh, 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 oh God, it was Ebon being dark. Something anyway on podcast, but odd. And his movements, he would walk along the wall, um, bringing his knee up to 90 degrees to his waist. Very exaggerated walking. And as he took shape from a ball and became this triangle stick shaped thing, he came to the end of my bed. My bed was in the middle of the room. I could not move. I tried. And I was quite sort of strong. I was a young man. I was like quite
Uh-huh.
strong. And I tried to move my arms, could not move them, could not move my legs. I weed myself because I was that scared. I was
Wow.
petrified of this thing. It got closer to me, but it was a black, dark mass but it was in the shape of this triangle figure, stick thin, right? but it came closer and it growled something. Don't know what it growled, but it growled. It bloody growled. And that just, and it was a deep growl. And it, uh, wow, beyond evil. It was every torture, torment. It was an encapsulation of pure, unadulterated badness, evil emanating from this black figure. Then it
Wow.
went back to the wall, walked along, walked towards the door on the bed set, and just went. In the morning, I woke up thinking, what the hell went on? Looked to my pants, thought, oh, that's great, weighed myself. Remembered what went on. I was like, what the hell was that? Got up, looked at the door was open. And Susan, I always used to lock the door
Yeah,
because
that's
it was a bed
crazy.
set. Yeah,
Oh,
busy
God.
place, busy place. There's lots of different people in there.
God.
That was odd. Yeah, that was that shadow people. That was the only time I've come across a shadow person,
Hmm.
and it was just, and that's what got me. It felt biblical in its, the representation of hell. You
Hmm.
know, the despair, the burning, the people with their arms, kind of like reaching up for salvation. It
Yeah.
was that kind of feeling of emanating from this thing. It was just like total despair and badness. Never felt that anything like that before or since.
Wow. Wow. Ghost Radio NH. So, energy passing through interdimensional planes, arriving on our physical plane, and our mind can't apprehend fully by its nature. Hmm.
Could be.
Yeah. Been similar stories of people. God, I can't pronounce that name. Ashaska, seeing fractional monarchs, interdimensional beings. Maybe there's some sort of metaphysical connection between our brain, the gateway to the universe.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair enough. There is something which is quite odd about us. Um, and I mean, everyone knows. You see, we keep going round in circles all the while, and we keep banging on about the same things.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things is uh, uh, the double slit experiment. There is a outcome to us witnessing something. So if we witness photons of light going through two slits and they form a wave particle, if I've got that right way round. Uh, so the outcome of an experiment depends on the witnessing by us. So how does the particles know? How do the particles know that they're being witnessed to change their form? So by that comment, it is quite true. Um, it's in a way. Uh, do we influence these things by us actually seeing it? If we view these entities, these spirits, these by us, do they need us?
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't there, would they appear? Would they still be there? Do they need us? Is that the reason why a lot of these spirits, these entities, including Dogman, um, so many witnesses come forward, especially with Dogman, not so much with Bigfoot, not so much, but where time and time again, they experience this feeling of impending savagery.
Hmm.
This impending is going to be hurt by this dogman. Um, it's a kind of like almost. But the thing is that these people are in different countries. They're in different states. And yet they're having the same experiences. When you look, there's a common thread. Now, I don't think it's just a case that they're listening to the same podcast or TV show, or because there's little nuances which I've heard which set them apart, which are slightly different.
Hmm.
Um, that they wouldn't know unless they had witnessed it themselves. You know. And these little some of the nuances that I've witnessed, when you see them, their eyes do glow, but they glow dependent on uh, their intention. They glow different color dependent on their intention to you, or their feeling has an impact on their the color of their eye. um uh that often happens, these beings, I often wonder, not so much created by us, but do we help them somehow?
Mm. Wait, you mean like getting our energy?
um Not so much, no. Not so much the energy. I think we put a lot of emphasis on energy, and I think a lot of like ghost hunting. It's kind of like they manifest because of energy. If anything, the shadow being I saw was a very didn't need any energy at all.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't need any energy. Um, a lot of times, the only time when you talk about energy, the only time that this is another absolutely true story and so absurd, but just stupid, but it did happen. So I've mentioned it anyway. So many years ago, again, I was living in a bungalow in a very small village in Suffolk. Um, I was with my then partner I had then, and anyway, she was in bed, and we would often hear when we moved into this bungalow. It was a council place. Okay,
Hmm.
so you put your name down on the council, and then eventually, if you get enough points, you get a place. They give you a place. It's cheaper rent and stuff like that. Anyway, when we first moved in, we found a little talisman and a little note saying, "We hope you're happy here. It's a lovely place, and we hope you're very happy here. And God be with you." And I thought that's really nice, and a little like kind of talisman. It was in the shape of like a butterfly or a moth almost, Um, and I was quite naive back then. I was like, oh, that's very nice of them. It's lovely. We would often hear footsteps, dragging footsteps, coming down from the front door down the hallway. Um, and it used to have hot air heating, which was
Hmm.
awful because uh, after summertime you put hot air heating on, and the first thing that comes out come autumn time is just a whole load of old dust. So you have to open up all the windows to blow it all out for a certain period of time. But another thing was the ductwork under the floor would creak and croak. So we kind of thought, well, it's probably that. But we heard this footsteps and dragging on the floor at a certain time. It was always like kind of in around very early morning, 1 o'clock, 1:30, around that time, 2 o'clock. And uh, anyway, one night we didn't know what it was. One night, I said, "Look, I'm going to get up and go for a wee." So I went to the loo, and I decided it wasn't a wee; it was the other thing. So I sat down on the toilet. Instantly, boom! I fell asleep on the toilet. head down,
Oh my God.
light of the toilet on, just out. When I woke up, I felt drained, absolutely drained. Never felt that before. Like just like that, boom, sleep, boom. Anyway, got up, didn't go. I just like woke up, and then if it's too much information, let me know. Anyway, got up, went back into the bedroom. My partner was in there. She was petrified. I said, "What's wrong with you?" She said, "There was an old lady sat on the end of my bed talking to me." I was like, "You're kidding?" She said, "No, there was this old lady, and she was talking to me, and she was saying that uh, we shouldn't be here." And she said that it's a bad place. I said, "What? Who?" And she described that. She said she was long, very long hair.
Mm-hmm.
She had very wispy long hair, very wrinkled face, sad eyes, quite black, quite dark eyes. You know, around her eyes was dark.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
skin was dark. Um, and uh, yeah, she had her teeth were. She said. I remember her telling me that her teeth were missing. Some of her teeth were missing as well. Like an old person's tooth would be missing, you know, as they get older, they like missing teeth. She said, yeah, and she was just sat at the end of her bed talking to her. And I said, you wouldn't believe this, but I just passed out on the toilet. Now that I think probably, I honestly do think that that energy from me was used to manifest that old lady.
Oh. Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I zapped out. I zapped out.
Wow.
So
Did
all these,
you
yeah.
did you find out the history of that place? Was there like an elderly woman that passed away there, or was there any
Um, ev-
history?
Evidently, that with that place, the neighbours told us. The neighbours told us that the dad or the mum, sorry, uh, next door, the husband died in the place,
Mm-hmm.
and the old woman moved into a home. So it was that if anything was going to come back, you would believe it would be the dad that died or the husband that died. Not the old woman, his wife, because she
Yeah.
moved into an old home. They moved her out of the place, moved into an old home. But when I described the old lady to the same like mum next door, because she was a single mum, with loads of kids, and I said, well, she looked. Evidently, my partner said she had like missing teeth. She said, no. What on this side? This one and that one gone at the front. I said, I don't know. I'll find out. Went and asked the partner. She said, yeah. And I said, well, come and have a word with her. And she described her, and she said, oh my word. She said, it sounds exactly like the lady that lived in the place before her. I never met her, but the lady that lived in that place before the old couple was a real recluse and evidently a real recluse and just like would be really nasty with kids and not a very nice character at all. Um, uh, just like kind of very what's the word? Um, uh, a, a single old lady, very kind of intolerant of children, just not very nice, really. Yeah. But she's the one that was described as coming back saying, you want to go from this place. It's not a good place.
Hmm.
That's the only thing we've got on that place.
Wow.
Makes sense. A bit of a coincidence that the lady next door. Now she never met the old lady because
Mm-hmm.
like she was too new, but that's what she heard.
Wow. Huh.
So yeah, do they use our energies?
Hmm.
It's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, very odd. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, huh, very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So, and it just makes me wonder, like, kind of, also with, uh, are these things? Do you think these things could be manifested? Do you think these things could be manifested by occult means?
Well, that's why they say poltergeist exists, is because especially happens through teenagers when they go through, that stage. And if they're going through dramatic experiences in their childhood, along with the change, they could very well manifest poltergeist activity. That's
Mm,
usually when they say poltergeist occurs, is during the teenager years.
yeah. So why is it then all through the ages we get these different varying accounts? Like years ago, it used to be ghosts used to be white sheets and a drag in chains. We don't ever
Yeah.
hear that now. True story. Another one. I had Auntie Sissy, my aunt, Auntie Sissy. It's only be a quick one. My Auntie Sissy was a bit sort of you would call her bit of a mad old aunt. Okay. Um, anyway, she had my uh, 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 she had my grandma's husband, who was a chippy, he was a carpenter, round to do some work. And my grandma, Ida, told me this story. Anyway, her place was always, she was a witch. Yeah, basically. I never found out until later on. But she was quite into the occult. And she read a lot of esoteric sort of kind of writings and works and stuff like that. I never knew at the time. I just knew her as mad old Auntie Sissy. And uh, I used to enjoy staying with her because she was like such a character, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyway, one part was she went away and she asked Ida, my grandma, she asked if she could borrow her husband to do some work around her house while she was away. And uh, I said, "Yeah, sure, why not have him?" Yeah, I said, he stayed at her house for a long weekend, and uh, when he was staying in the house, um, he turned round and that first night, and he swore blind he heard chains coming from the basement and these cries, these cries of agony and uh, this almost guttural uh, growling and cries
Huh.
and chains coming from now the cellar was in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
From the kitchen in our house, because I stayed there quite a lot, from the kitchen in the house, you go through, and the garage was part of the house, if you like, So you'd have a door going straight into the garage, yeah, and then the cellar would be in the floor, just there, and you lift the hatch up, and you kind of like go down into it. It was always locked, always. So um, anyway, he left. He didn't stay. He didn't hang around. He went. He told Ida, his wife, he said, my grandma, I will never go back to that house again.
Wow.
He said, and he never believed in any, occult stuff or crap or ghosts or anything. But he said, I
Yeah.
heard what I heard. And that was chains as well. And
Hmm.
uh, yeah, yeah. But he swore he'd never go back to that place again. Um, it's odd though that you don't nowadays hear so much like with ghost hunting about chains or stuff like
No,
that, do
you
you?
don't. You don't.
You
No.
know, um, like with UFOs. Years ago, in the turn of the century, there was UFOs spotted, but they were more, when they asked to describe them, they were more like dirigibles. They were
Hmm.
more like airships. I think these things manifest in, uh, because of the era they're in, they manifest in a way that we can understand them.
Hmm.
If they turned up in a black triangle at the turn of the century, we would look at a sky in a black triangle and it would be so out of our remit of understanding, we probably wouldn't even hope to describe it, maybe with lights coming down. But a
Yeah, yeah.
dirigible, yeah, is that the same? Does it go for the same for what we see? You know, um, is kind of like some of the stuff that we read about, in the Bible, and not just the Bible, but in other religions, is that just a what we would call a ghost, but manifested in their era as being, Holy Spirit?
Hmm.
Is it one of the same?
But then there's people all around the world that said that they've been inducted by aliens.
There is, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not taking away the alien factor, the aliens, but it's just odd though, Susan, that these things kind of manifest in. Why did they see an airship years ago and they don't see it nowadays? Why and
Hmm.
why did we see not that long ago more flying saucers, as they were called, or discs?
Yeah,
Now we see it's all triangles now,
yeah. Or
which is
flashes of
strange.
light or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, people do get taken away. And another thing that fascinates me, when you go into the woods, do you ever hear any owls?
Very rarely do I hear owls.
Okay. If I was to tell you that I hear owls quite regularly before or after catching something on film. So when I look back at a bit of film, or I go into a place, you'll often hear, like in the distance, an owl going, or I will hear an owl and I know to start filming. It's like owls. To me, owls play quite a big part. I often
Hmm.
get the sound of owls in woods and forests, very often.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a UFO thing as well. People often see, when they have a close encounter with their abducted, they often have dreams and visitation, uh, stories of beings that look like owls, or an owl turning up at the window.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, they are watchers. Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Odd, isn't it?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
owls go back to biblical times, don't they?
They do.
You know. Hi, Nicole. Yeah, they go back to biblical times. I mean, there was Adam first, and there was Lilith.
Hmm.
Um, and she didn't want to. She thought, she was the first feminist. Really, she didn't think she should lay below Adam. They were equals,
Hmm.
and rightly so. Really, and uh, Adam like complained, I think, if I remember rightly, and God's right said, okay, gave her the elbow, as it were, and uh, created Eve, and then yeah, but Lilith always, a lot of times, took the form of an owl.
Hmm.
when you see old paintings and drawings and sketches, you
Yeah.
quite often see a beautiful female body with this owl head and wings,
Oh wow.
usually with a
Huh.
serpent. Funny enough, with a serpent around her.
Hmm.
Strange. Yeah. Once again, there's
Yeah.
always tie-ins. There's this
I know.
thread, isn't there? There's this
There's
thread.
so much, so much. Yeah.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah. So it's I don't know. I mean I do what I do, and I evidence what I evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just put it out there,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, um, I leave it up to the people, really. Um, because as I say, they're just so clued up and they're eagle-eyed, and
Mm-hmm.
they often tell me what is there. Because a lot of times I go walking straight past it. I went on one just recently. I went on a walk in a newish forest I went to, and was going along. And right at the beginning, I think it was 0.28 or something, 0.30 in. And yeah, there was this Dogman looking at me in the woods, and I was like, "What?" And then I was told by a follower, a subscriber, and they said gave me a timestamp. I thought, well, really? I did not see that at all.
That's
Not when I was
awesome.
there. I just went straight past it. Yeah, you know. But yeah, that's it. I don't think they mean me any harm for some
No,
reason.
no, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, because if they wanted to really interact with you, they would have already done so, you
Oh yeah,
know?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, they would have had me for lunch. You know, definitely. I mean, these things are, they're incredibly strong. When you see
Yeah.
them, it's like incredibly strong and muscular, and I mean, just huge. When I have taken sort of video of them, and you see them, and
Mm-hmm.
even though it's been at a bit of a distance, you think, "My God, huge,"
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, maybe so.
Huh. I know. I know. And look at it. It's like almost 2 hours.
Oh wow, is it?
That's
Oh, did you
perfectly
bank on two
fine.
hours?
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't.
that's
I
fine.
didn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We just keep on talking, talking, talking. That's fine though. We got
Okay.
plenty of time.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
free forming's good anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Forming's
yeah,
good.
definitely.
Yeah. This
Definitely.
is not. This is no cocktail. This one. This is char tea.
Oh, see, you're good. You're good. I'm almost done with mine. So, what are your plans for the future? Just continuously exploring?
Yeah. My plans for the future are I've got a big investigation. It's going to be a nighttime over a period of about 3 nights, going to Cannock Chase.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be in about 2 weeks' time. Um, So that's quite a big one. I'm teaming up with someone for that one,
Nice.
because Cannock Chase has got we've got black-eyed children there. On my word,
Ooh.
I would,
Oh,
I'd,
wow.
I'd love to Oh my word, can you imagine capturing them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a chap who told me a story about that. He didn't live very far away,
Uh-huh.
and uh, he was playing. It was a small lake, right by um, this like edge of the forest, and they were playing with a tire and some rope over across the lake, as kids do. And one of the kids looked up and they saw three figures staring at them. Two boys, one girl in the middle. The two boys were quite tall, but they were wearing hats like these. Oh, uh, strange hats. Like the nearest he described it to me was, he said, the hat that preacher wore when he went in Poltergeist 2 and he came to the door, let me in.
Oh, like yeah.
Yeah, that wide brimmed sort
Yep.
of hat. Yeah,
Yep.
round, wide brimmed. Um, uh, they were wearing that type of hat, but they had including the girl. She was a lot younger, shorter, black eyes, but their arms were just down by their sides.
Oh wow.
Didn't move, just down by the sides. Yeah. Um, and I was told that story, so I'd like to go and try and find that lake if I can as well. It's only a
That's
small one, I
awesome.
believe. Mm,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'd like to do that. Seventh Sanctum, I still we're planning on doing a few ghost hunts. Um,
Nice.
yeah, with Seventh Sanctum, so that will be really enjoyable.
Yeah.
'Cause I love going out with them. They're great
Yeah,
team.
they're awesome. I had them on my show. They're awesome.
Yeah, they're really great. They're really great. Lovely girls they are.
Yeah.
And they're a good team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the people they got around them, really good, very efficient. Do you know what I mean? They just get in, get the job done. There's no messing about with them. They're, just like boom. And yeah, we got some last time we were out. We went to the old ironworks building.
Oh
Got some really
wow.
good results. Yeah, got some good results there. So yeah, I was there mainly just as like kind of a documentary photographer and
Mm-hmm.
film, basically. So I took all the video and just like loaded it up. I tried to do it live, but it came out live, but because the internet was a bit
Oh yeah.
crap, it's the only thing with live. It's nice to do, but you've got to be 110% sure you're
That's
going to
the
get good
thing.
signal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When I go live, sometimes it cuts in and out. So I was like, oh, I'll just post it later.
yeah, that's it. Because it just like looks so yeah, it can get really so glitchy. It's sort of unwatchable,
Yeah.
sometimes. But yeah, no. So a lot more ghost hunts.
Good.
I would like to try a couple of experiments as well. With uh, basically with entities, entity experiments, but that's got to do more with scrying,
Okay.
like with mirrors. Yeah, I
Oh,
like to do
got
a bit
ya.
more mirror scrying, really.
Okay.
But putting the mirrors in like positions where uh it's in their territory,
Yeah.
so it's in graveyards or in forests or places like that. Really, I'd
Okay.
like to do that a bit more.
Oh yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, that's one thing I would like to try. you know Probably maybe during Canuck, because I've got a obsidian mirror. um I bought one of those. They're quite
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, yeah, and I've got witch bells as well, so I'll be putting those up. They're always good, witch bells, because I put those up in the forest and that. So it's a good indicator if anything's close, because they tend to rattle.
Yeah.
I quite like those. Um, so I sort of mark a triangle out with witch bells at a distance. I use them on the Seventh Sanctum as well when I'm with them. I sort of use them because if there's anything which shouldn't be there or
Mm-hmm.
is bad, they will rattle.
That's pretty
Mm,
cool. Yeah.
yeah,
That would be cool to see.
yeah, yeah. I think so. It's just really just trying to understand. Uh, I don't know. It's not. It's really trying to work out what the question is to ask. What are we dealing with?
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to understand what question I should be asking, that I need to ask, to find out what it is that we're dealing with. Because I believe that from Dogman to ghosts to even get this right, aliens and UFOs,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all linked. At the moment, we're kind of like segregated into groups. You got your Bigfooters, you got your
Mm-hmm.
Dogmen, you got your aliens, and very rarely uh, do they overstep the mark into one another's group.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand why, I can understand why, but I honestly would like to see kind of a more of a unified approach with all of this, because I've got a feeling that what what these groups will find and what people will find, that it's all related, you know. It's all from the same origin, the same source.
Hmm. Could be.
Hmm. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Because you know, it's too coincidental that all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it also happens to. Have you noticed that there's certain people? I could go uh, into a wood, a forest. I could go into a cemetery. I can then ask somebody, a dog walker, which I've done. Have you seen anything in here before? Oh no, Phil, I've been coming here 25 years, never seen a thing. I go through it and I capture a dogman or a ghost. I've captured ghosts in forests. I've actually got them on video of that these two ghost figures by a tree, and you can see through them. They're transparent.
Wow, you should show that to me.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's just, you know, and you think to yourself, I don't know. It boils down to, again, is it the person? Is it just the case we're not finding the right questions to ask? Is it that these people, these dog walkers that have been going through for 25 years, don't see it because either the entity doesn't choose to show itself to them,
Mm-hmm.
or they choose not to see it?
It's
It's a
very
conundrum,
true.
isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
I believe they choose not to see it.
So it happens anyway.
I mean, there are some people that they're drawn more to, but and then it comes down to all of us have intuition, and we just block ourselves from seeing what's really there around us.
Mm. We have got that. All of us have got that funny part of us that won't go into a dark cellar or won't go into a dark room. There's something inherently uh, almost primordial fear of
Mm-hmm.
what we can't see, hear, or, you know, what we don't understand. Um, but um, and the night belongs to the night creatures, because we're not built to go out into the night, as it were, are we? You know, we haven't got the right eyesight. We haven't, you know, our spectrum of light that we can see is very limited anyway. But yeah, I don't know. It's odd. I think you are right. I think you are right. I think it happens anyway. It's just a case that, yeah, people who just don't want to see. A lot of people who don't see this stuff don't believe in it, but a lot of the people that do see this stuff do believe in it. So I think that's a thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's um I definitely do think that we're not bonkers, we're not crackers. We're not. We're not. We're absolutely not. And it's something which is quite detrimental. Now, when I say that, I mean it's quite detrimental from the point of view of it uh, stops me from sleeping. It also, I believe, that the closer you look, the closer you get, the closer you look, the more it takes its toll on your health.
Hmm.
And that, I think, is also another byproduct of this manifestation that we're dealing with, this whole realm that we're dealing with. Whether it is because um like my friend is saying, that I spoke of with Rick, I think because of the actual energies involved, do take are detrimental to our health. They could well be. It could well be. I mean, you think we're dealing with we're taking K2 meters,
Mm-hmm.
which detect electromagnetic frequency,
Mm-hmm.
electromagnetic frequency. So if you
Mm.
stick them next to a microwave, what would they do if you're on a microwave? It would just go bonkers,
Yeah.
absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
So we're then kind of up and close to that,
Yeah.
and that brings us on to if it is the which a lot of people think EMF, if it is that, then we're going into these places, and what do we always take with us? We take mobile phones. I remember
Mm-hmm.
a time not that long ago when mobile phones were the massive great things, and then they got smaller. Then you had the flip top like the Razor Threes and all those ones, the flip ones. The ones looked like Star Trek Beam Me Up Scotty phones.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember for a very short period of time, the government issuing adverts and in the UK anyway, and they were saying um, that I don't think it was adverts. I think it was an investigation initiated. I'm wrong. There was an investigation initiated because having a mobile phone held up close to your ear would be detrimental to your health from the
Oh,
point of view
yeah. Yeah.
of.
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But because they are so integrated into everybody's life,
Mm-hmm.
we've now chosen to ignore that fact. Absolutely chosen to ignore it because the need to use and to be in touch outweighs the need for the potential to have maybe a tumor.
Yeah.
But we go in nevertheless into these places with a K2 meter in one hand and a mobile phone in the other. One's giving off an immense amount of electromagnetic, and the other one's detecting.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I
it's a
never
bit of
thought
a
of that. Yeah.
so we kind of like is it just are we tapping into, what I'm saying is, are we tapping into a stream, not necessarily from our phones, I'm not saying that, but we're giving out a certain amount of energy, because when I put the trimeter anywhere near the phone, the radio frequency just skyrockets, EMF goes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's all singing and dancing because the phone's constantly, even if we've got it on do not disturb,
Yep.
it's constantly sending out a signal. It can't help itself, but it's sending out a signal. You know, um, it's always looking for that Wi-Fi as well. It's constantly, even if we turn off the Wi-Fi enablement, it still is searching out for a nearest Wi-Fi port. So we've always got that going as well, haven't we? Which
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
bit ironic, really. It's a bit,
That's
you
true.
know,
That's true. And you know what you're starting to see now more and more are people actually going back to the tape decks, the
yeah,
cassettes instead of
yeah,
the digital ones.
mm, yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think the tape deck's a really good idea. I think analog is kind of like the way to go. It's a bit like with people using, now I've seen a lot more people using
Mm-hmm.
Polaroid cameras, the instant cameras, which is quite a good shout. Um, Although you are in, the film is so expensive.
It is. It's very expensive now.
It kind of it's so damned expensive. It really um you have to be very, very choosy where you sort of like, take a flash photo.
Mm-hmm.
And also the cameras themselves are not that great. They are autofocus, but they're very limited on their tech.
Yep. Yeah, I
So
know.
you can't get any really very clear picture unless it's within the focal length, which is provided by the autofocus lens. You can't get any more, otherwise it would just be a blur and a waste of film. So there's always a payoff, isn't there? I
Mm-hmm.
like the idea, but there's always a payoff which doesn't really justify it. But the
Yeah.
audio tape, yeah, that's good. I like the audio tape business.
Yeah.
You know.
Huh. I wonder if you can still get them.
Yeah, I
Curious.
think you can. Yeah, I reckon so. I reckon you can. Yeah, I think it's a good shout. I might get one.
I'll see you with your tape recorder in the next video.
Yeah, probably will. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you will do. Yeah, probably knowing my luck, it'll be one of those tape recorders where the tape just comes streaming out of it, and there'll be a whole flurry of tape everywhere. Yeah, you know, and
Yeah,
you'll go,
yeah.
oh yeah, I remember Phil talking about that. Yeah, look, that's still the tape going everywhere. Look, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah, but
but
I would say I'm very much like you. Like if I do go somewhere, I basically use my sense. I carry like sometimes I carry, equipment, sometimes I don't. Um
mm,
because I don't really 100% rely on equipment as well.
no, I the only reason I carry some equipment, um, is I can is just to back up. We've made a rod for our own back, all
Yeah.
right, and the rod we've made for our own back is um, technology. So if I had a ghost on film, it would still not be accepted, and a ghost could come up. It could actually wave in front of the camera. It could do a little dance, but that would not be enough for people because of AI.
Mm-hmm.
They would instantly say, look, that is AI, you know, or it's too obvious. We don't believe
Mm-hmm.
it because it's too obvious. Well, hey, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it is there. I just caught it and boom. Um, so we have, in a way, with technology, we haven't made it easy to uh, um, justify the evidence that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I only carry the equipment in the vain hope of um, justifying not just the capture, but the area around it.
Yep.
And if I get a certain amount of electromagnetic on the K2, if the tri meter goes off, sparks off, if I get fluctuations in temperature because I've used a laser thermometer, hopefully all of that helps towards proving and ghost busting what is there.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reason I carry it. But I agree with you, Susan. I do think that a lot of times, like when people have asked me, where do you go, Phil? Where would you recommend? Well, I'll tell you what, I would recommend for cryptid, I would recommend your local wood.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go out miles hiking. Your local wood. You will find structures, you will find teepee structures, you will find X's, you will find large Y's. Um, they're there. I'm not saying every TP structure is. Some of it is made by kids.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is bushcraft, but 15-20% is not, and it's not made by bushcraft because um, bushcraft is bushcraft, and bushcraft is made for two reasons. One, to keep you relatively dry,
Mm-hmm.
two to protect you from the wind and the elements. What we see out there, these structures don't do that. So if they're hides, if they're used as blinds, they're in the wrong position.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times with blinds or hides, you will want them not directly on a trail, animal trail, a well-known animal trail. You'll probably have them at higher ground as well. You want it so you've got the advantage of sight from a semi-camouflaged place. You know, otherwise there's not a lot of point in doing it. And these structures, as I say, 15, 20% are unexplainable.
Mm-hmm.
Do not know why they're built, who built them. No one's come forward to say, actually, that structure you videoed, Phil, I built that. Well, did you? And I would turn around and say, why did you build it? What did you use to build it with? Why did you use branches off the floor of the forest?
Mm-hmm.
Old branches off the floor. So it must have taken you hours to collect all of those branches off the floor. Why didn't you use fresh branches? Why didn't you cut them? Why didn't you use a spud tool to actually deburr them and be able to use a tarp over the top? Or why didn't you use ferns to protect it from the rain? All these questions I would ask. Because I've done bushcraft myself, and I would not build these structures that I find, because in the middle of the night when it's raining and it's cold and it's
Mm-hmm.
windy, they're going to offer no protection. The Y structures I'm talking about are large branch structures in the shape of a Y, and you often see them hanging from trees, but they're not deadfall that have come off in the wind, because they've been placed in such a particular careful manner as to be balanced, put there on purpose. You can tell the
Mm-hmm.
difference if they're just, or they're almost Blair Witchy. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yep.
They're almost Blair Witchy. They're almost like kind of um uh signals. They're almost like uh, 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 signs, and then you get large X's. I've got a friend of mine, Ian Wood, and Colin Kilty, and they've come across the same, where they find these massive X shapes, and they're made with, a lot of times the trees are pulled up from the ground and then carried and put up against each other to form a large X shape. Now these trees can be up to 40, 50, 60 foot in length.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you actually sent me one. I could actually put it up. Um,
Okay,
let's
okay,
see.
cool.
This one right
Yeah,
here.
yeah, that one. Yeah, exactly.
That's like, and you can see right there, like where it's pulled off the ground.
Yeah, yeah. So that is not something kids would do.
Yeah.
You know, and I was, whether they are. I think they're kind of like a boundary marker. Do not enter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I sometimes think that I don't think we should be so vain as to think that maybe they are for us to interpret. Maybe what it is that they're put there for other tribes of maybe Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or Dogmen. Put them
Hmm.
there for other um, uh, uh, cryptids to look and say, okay, now I won't go in that area. I think it might be a bit vain of us to think that everything's pointed and directed by Dogman and Bigfoot towards us. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're not that important to them.
Yeah, yeah. Possibly cause a happening to occur. Okay. This was part of the first, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So so I should just keep continuing on. Um, just finding evidence. My first love, uh, and I call it a love, I suppose, because it's I feel honestly, I feel chosen by the Dogman entity. I do feel. I think throughout my life, it's kind of like always been on the periphery of my
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
Always been there. So um, I'm kind of like going with it because I think it is sending me in a direction. It's pulling me in a direction, should I say? Um, and I kind of like I just get so many sightings, and I don't really have to try that hard.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, definitely go with where where you're pulled to. Definitely.
yeah, yeah, I definitely will do. You know, um, I think that's the one thing that in all of this, I think any researcher should do. I think if there's like with ghosts, if you get more in the way of that kind of thing, you should really kind of. I would always encourage people to, because it's almost like it chooses you. You don't
Yep.
choose that, it chooses you, as a life path.
Mm-hmm.
um and you should, like as you say, just go with it,
You
if it
should.
chooses you. No.
And now we know what you're going to be doing, going out there and exploring.
Yeah, yeah, just like new places if I can, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
um new places, going out exploring, and ultimately trying to understand and help in you know relating. It's there. It exists, they are seen, Bigfoot is seen, um but we need to, um I don't want to capture one, I don't want to hurt one, I
Mm-hmm.
just want to understand. And we need to really kind of like understand, and I think it's imperative that we're aware of this, because I think there is an agenda. um when I talk about a central origin, there is a central origin. I think that we have to be aware that um, that origin may not be the nicest.
Mm-hmm.
Its intent might not be what we would hope for.
Yeah, and the Earth is changing as well. Um, environmentally, and it's transforming. You could definitely feel it. So
Mm,
maybe they're more intense to come out as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think so. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it's with the Earth changing. I mean, we're we're overdue so much. We're overdue a pole change for a start.
Yeah.
We're overdue a magnetic pole change, by quite a number of years. Hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of years. We're overdue that, which wouldn't be a bad thing because we'd get some sunshine then. We'd have the same weather, I think, as Australia, if I'm not mistaken, or Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. because at the moment we're getting some dreadful wet weather. But um, it's uh, we're also um, there's so much unknown that we don't know of. We don't know what's in the center of this planet. We've only been down 12 miles. That's the most we can get to. I had the uh that deep hole. Is it a Bora? No, Kola deep borehole in Russia went down 12 miles, didn't it? And then stopped.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you read about that? Did you know about that?
I heard about it. I haven't read about it.
The microphone, when they put the microphone down it.
Mm-mm.
Oh my word. Yeah. Oh yeah. Check that one out.
I will.
Anyway, right. They drilled this hole. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
then it went down 12 miles. Then it kind of like hit, I believe it hit like a cavity, a void. And on the way down, they broke loads of bits,
Oh
drill bits,
wow.
right? I mean, it was an absolutely outstanding bit of engineering to get down that deep. Um, and so they did that. Then they reached a void. Yeah. So they brought the drill back up, and they thought, what the hell was it? Big cave? What is it? So anyway, this is the story. No one knows for sure, but they recorded. There's recordings out there, right? You can listen to it. I think it's the Kola Deep Borehole. I think the recording is. Anyway, they dropped the microphone down. Took forever to drop down. Dropped it down. What they heard was basically hell,
Oh,
the sound of hell.
that's what Ghost Radio NH said. The microphone, they
Yeah,
heard sounds of screaming in hell. Oh God.
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. But when you listen to it, it's like what the yeah,
I have to listen to it now. Hmm.
really good. Um, so there's a lot that we don't know about, about the planet itself. We're kind of like, when you think we've got our phones, we've got our computers, we think we're quite superior.
Mm-hmm.
From the point of view of technology, which we've gained relatively quickly. We've adopted the digital age as if we were always had it. The digital the digital age we're in with
Mm-hmm.
computers, and the way we've come to um, adopt it and use it in everyday life is extraordinary to me. It's just been so easy for us to adopt into the um, digital phones, the computers, the video, everything has just been so linear, so easy, so normal. Um, Whereas, if you were to give it to a chimpanzee, they'd be like, "What? What's They'd be forever." It's just been kind of too easy. It's just it's like kind of uh, as if we are part of it. Do you know what I mean? As if we're
Mm-hmm.
kind of, you know, matrix styly part of it, um so yeah, we've kind of like got that on the go with the digital age. I forgot what I was going on about. What was I going on about, Susan, before I
Well, the
mentioned
the
about the
microphone itself was creeping. It's like creeping me out. I have to hear it now.
oh my god, when you hear it you won't forget it, and
No.
more so when you hear it and you think to yourself, is that really from the Kola deep borehole? Is that what's under there? That's what will get you, because you'll be thinking, what? That is down there?
Yeah.
The
Ugh.
screams. Oh my word, the screams were like unbelievable. Um, yeah, so there's lots of stuff that we sort of like, don't understand at all,
Yeah.
and there's lots of stuff I don't understand, tons of it. It's like every time you look at a space station, um, and you look at a photograph of space, why is there no stars? Don't see any stars.
Hmm. Hmm.
William Shatner, when he went up in space, I think he was on SpaceX. He went up in space, didn't he, for a joyride? And when he came back down, they asked him, "How was it? You know, was it all right? Was it all right with him?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, when he looked back at Earth, it was so beautiful, but he said, "We're so alone. There's nothing out there. It's just black."
Mm-hmm.
And that's a strange thing to say
Yeah.
for somewhere where it's like kind of, you know, astrophysicists have said that, you know, there's more mass out there than anything. You know, that, you know, you could hardly put a pin between the mass. And where there isn't visible mass, there's dark matter, because there's a gravity drawing the universe away towards something, the great attractor, which I don't think. I think it's all part of um, the everything engine theory. But you know, there's just so much out there that we don't realise and know. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So if we can just like kind of me going through a forest, finding stuff,
Yeah.
can you know, help towards the grand answer for everything. Brilliant.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's 2.5 hours.
Is that all? Okay. Do you want to call it a night then, or call it an
It's
afternoon?
it's up to you. Afternoon for you, after night for me.
No, it's night time for me. It's. I'll tell you what time it is, shall I? It is 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my god! And oh my god! Now I feel bad.
No, 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 no. Please feel bad. No,
So, anyways, so I think I'm gonna have us both end the show. So, where should people find you? You got your YouTube channel, Facebook.
Yep, yep. Well, you can find me Facebook. Facebook. Just put in my name, Phil Cotwell, and you'll find it. My YouTube is Dogman Teepee Hunting. You put that in, you'll find my YouTube channel. I'm also on TikTok, which is again TP Hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've got a podcast which I haven't been really very clever with. I haven't been updating it, but I will be. And that is the Interdimensional Voyagers. The Interdimensional
Oh,
Voyagers
I didn't know
podcast.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, what it is, in case any time I get eaten in the forest, then what I've decided to do was a lot of the stories that I've mentioned, but in a
Mm-hmm.
vastly more detail, um, I put down on a podcast.
Okay.
So in case anything happens to me anytime, I've got kind of like my story of when I was a kid growing up, stuff that happened to me on a podcast, which, you know, someone will just sort of like listen to as they're falling asleep in bed and think,
My
blimey, what was
God,
that all about?
God.
What was that bloke rattling on about?
Yeah, and for me, you can find me on this show, Paranormal Happy Hour on YouTube. I'm on um, Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm everywhere.
It's a
So
great show.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So everybody, good night. Sleep well, and we
Yeah.
will see you some other time.
Yeah. Yeah. May God's be with you.